Hey y'all, welcome to the filling station. It's been an interesting day in the market. Yes, so let me go ahead and give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth. And yes, the stock market is just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. With that being said, let's get started. So we are looking at the VIX. And as you can see this morning pre-market, we were at a range of 1601 as support and 1618 as resistance. And soon as the bell rung, it seemed like it was go time because it definitely went from bounced off of this low and kept going high. What's interesting is we were back at the 1948. So the VIX went from a 1601 to a 1948, and as you can see here, we got rejected only to come back down and to close around the 1859. That is going to be an interesting level for us, right? So what's interesting about the VIX, and the reason why I look at that, is because normally it gives me a general idea as to what the SPY is doing. So normally if I'm trading the SPY, which is something I normally trade, I will look and see what the VIX is doing and where the VIX is. So yeah, it was interesting to see this move today, based on the move that we had on yesterday. So yeah, anything is possible. I always say that, y'all. Nothing is guaranteed in the market. Anything is possible. So let's go look at the SPY. And yes, it's probably going to be a little bit congested today because I did mark up some levels today. So what was interesting about the SPY, just looking at it overall, let's go back to the 30-minute. We might consider a little bit clearer on that. So looking at the SPY, this is the 30-minute chart. And in pre-market, I did try to go back without getting too far out. The lavender lines here is where we would have been pre-market for, the gathering spot. And it seemed like soon as the bell opened, SPY came down and it kept declining. It didn't surprise me based on the move that it had on yesterday, how we ran up so much to see us back at this level. I really thought it was going to come back down to the 538.88 area because that was an area of strong support for the SPY, or resistance for the SPY. Let's see. Yeah, let me see if I can go to a higher time frame. Yes, see here, the SPY came down to this area and bounced. It came down to this area again and bounced. So it surprised me to just stop here at this level of 540.08. I had that marked as a level of support, and as you can see, that's exactly where we came down to. So again, it did surprise me that we didn't come back to the 538.88, but that's not to say that it can't come to that place tomorrow, because again, that was a strong area of support for the SPY. Now, it's like, oh gosh, looking at it, it's like really, really congested. And I'm going to clean some of this up, but I just wanted to point out some areas that, we had a signal here. We had a 5 and a 50 crossing on this 5-minute chart, and I know it's kind of hard to see it at this point, but just try to focus on the candles. We had a signal with the MACD crossing, 5 and 50 crossing, to enter off of rejection also. So we had other things that confirmed, along with the VIX, that we were declining. The VIX was going up, SPY is coming down. So if you entered the SPY at this point here, that was a nice decline from 554, let's see, the high 554.87 all the way down to 539. That was a really, really good trade. So yeah, 539.43. So if you entered this trade off of the rejection that we had and the other signals that we had back to the downside, that would have been a very, very decent trade. The thing is, sometimes it's staying in, because when you're in profit and you want to go ahead and just get out, but make sure, again, you're in charge of your own portfolio. If you're okay with your profit, get out. But as long as you have a reason for getting out and not just, okay, I'm just getting out. I'm trying to teach myself to stay in a little bit longer based on what I see the charts. What are my charts telling me? What are my signals? What are the signs? And, I always say be grateful and not greedy, So, pay very close attention to that. So let's go to AMD, because AMD was an interesting trade today. Also, AMD, looking at it on this 30-minute chart, it seems like as soon as the bell rung today, AMD came up here, made a high of 147.29, only to get rejected. And as you can see, pre-market, it traded in this zone here. And this has been an area that it's been before. That's why it's the gray shaded area here. Support was around the 143.69. Resistance was around the 144. 60 area where we broke past the 200 EMA, only to get rejected at this ATR trailing stop, because that's where it was trying to get close to, right? So when we came back down and broke under this 143.69, that would have been a decent place to try to come in and get an entry, because it came all the way down to the 130.24. And you know, when I was looking at it earlier today and I saw these two candles here, I said, well, it wouldn't surprise me to see AMD back at the 136.58 area or the 135.54 area, because that was the area of consolidation or gathering spot that we had previously been, and that's exactly what it did. So AMD wasn't surprised. I wasn't so surprised to see it back at this place here. This is the 5-minute chart. So looking back at AMD, it did have kind of a double top here. It gave us a signal of 5 and 50 crossing and the MACD crossing to enter the trade to the downside. This is definitely one of those ride the 5 instances here, because it came down here, found some support a little bit, only to come back up, but it got rejected and came back down again. So this little wave here would have been a little bit interesting for me, but as soon as it broke this level here of the 135.54, I knew that was strong support. So it broke that area. I would have probably entered the trade here again, back to the downside. So entering at the 135 area all the way down to the 130.24 would have been a nice trade for AMD today. So if you traded AMD, congratulations, that was a nice trade today. And Tesla, as always, Tesla. So this is the 5-minute chart for Tesla today, and it seems as if Tesla got rejected at the ORB high here. It came up, gave us a double top, it seems, here around the 228, that's 230 area, 230.80. Yes, around the 230.80 area. It seems like we had some trouble here. It gave us a signal on this 5-minute chart, which was kind of like a double top, only to get, you know, it got rejected there, came down. Look what the MACD is giving us a signal here around 10:15 that it's crossing, and we're making lower lows here. So if you enter Tesla here right under this fib level, that would have been a decent trade to the downside. So let's say around the 228 area, 228.10 area, if you enter Tesla around that time. And this again too is another instance of, or example of, riding the 5, because it's under the 5 EMA. Yes, we did go a little bit above the 5 here, but I knew that we would have trouble in this area. So because we didn't clear this area and make a new high, it got rejected and came back under the 5 EMA. Did the exact same thing here at this 223.93 area, only to come back down under the 5 EMA. That's why it's important to wait on your candles to close and see what your next candle is going to look like, so it don't just fake you out of the trade. But again, Tesla was a very nice trade. So from the 230 area or 228 area, if you would have entered Tesla, yeah, around the 228 area all the way down to the 214, that was a nice, very profitable trade. Very profitable. Again, paying attention to your MACD crossing, paying attention to making lower lows, and, you know, double top, anything that can give you a confirmation as to why you're entering your trades, and always know where your support is and where your resistance is. That is very, very important. So if you traded Tesla today, this was a very nice trade to the downside, coming off of the high of around the 230 area down to the 214 area. That was interesting. So let's go see where, let's see NVIDIA for today. Again, yes, NVIDIA was also a nice trade today. It seemed like it got rejected too at this ORB high. The thick green line is the ORB high, which is the opening range breakout. That's the first 15 minutes of the day. It's automatically generated on my chart. It kind of gives the overall support and resistance. So the ORB high for the day was 119.73, and it seems as if NVIDIA came up, got rejected at this level, gave us a double top here on this 5-minute, only to come back down. We had a pivot with the 5 EMA, and the MACD gave us a crossing. We made some lower lows, so we could have entered the trade right here. I would have entered under this fib level here, the dotted lines here. And if this too is another example of riding the 5, it's under the 5 EMA, so I would have stayed in the trade until it gave me a signal to get out. Even though it came up here, it still had trouble getting above this 114.78, 114 82 area. It had trouble in that area only to come back down. It kind of gave you that little wave type thing for a minute, and then it came all the way, down from the 112.65 all the way down to the 106.81. So that would have been a nice trade if you entered NVIDIA today based on confirmation and, making sure that you got in at the right time and out at the right time. That's the key to trading, making sure you have good entries and good exits and not, I always say overstaying your welcome. So again, NVIDIA was a really, really good trade today also. So it seems like if you got in at the right time today would have been a very profitable day coming to the downside or moving to the downside. We did have some inside day candles. Coin was one of them. I just like to look at them and see if we met those targets. So I'm going to look at the 30, and it did. It actually exceeded the target. So below the 224 would have given us a target of 223.15. It came all the way down to 207.82. So Coinbase definitely met the target to the downside, which is always interesting for me to watch. GameStop was also an inside day candle. So I'm going to see here at 22.58, we broke that level. The target was 22.34. Well, hey, GameStop came all the way down to 21.25, or right here around the 21.56 area, and it's still declining. So that's interesting to know, right? So I always go back and look at the inside day candles just to see, normally if it met the target or if it didn't. Intel was an inside day candle, and below the 30.25 would have given us a target of 30.01, and as you can see, it is declining after more. It is definitely dropping here down to 23.87 and declining. It closed at 29.05. So tomorrow should be very interesting for Intel because it reported earnings and it is declining after hours. So that's something to be mindful of if you trade Intel. Just know it closed at 29.05 and we are down here at the 23.85 area. So I would say always watch it carefully. Netflix was an inside day and it too met the target to the downside. 622.27 gave us a target of 616. Well, it didn't quite close that. 616.04. It came down to 617.61. So Netflix is really something good to trade as long as you get in at the right time. It makes some really different moves sometimes. It reminds me of SMCI, the way that it moves and how it jumps. It's just interesting. So if you trade Netflix, I always say trade carefully, y'all, and pay very close attention to your ins and your outs. So tomorrow should be a very interesting trading day, considering the SPY has come down so far today from 554 all the way down, 554.87 as the high and 539.43 as the low. Tomorrow is definitely going to be interesting. We are creating a gathering spot now here on this 30-minute chart, but y'all know what? It's always good to go back and review. I always ask myself, what can I learn today, or what did I learn today, right? And the most important thing is to follow your charts and don't ignore the signals. When your charts are giving you a signal, or your candles are giving you a signal, or your moving averages are giving you a sign that, we are running out of steam, there's something wrong, get out. And you can always go back in and trade again. Don't just stay in a trade on a hope. And that's so easy to do, or, hoping that it does. Make sure you have confirmation as to why you're still in the trade or you're entering the trade, right? So yeah, y'all, this is interesting to go back and always do a recap, y'all. I hope that everyone had a very, very productive day, a very profitable day today. And I always say we learn and we grow together. So if you could please like, comment, share, and subscribe. We learn and we grow together. Until next time, y'all, be blessed as well as a blessing unto others.